Hello everyone. Today we will talk about family diversity and observational process. Direction for you. You will listen to this recorded lecture and you will answer to three questions and please save your responses to the three questions in one document file and please upload your document file to Blackboard. Alrighty, diversity in the United States. United States is rapidly changing, and the group currently labeled as minority will be majority by the year of 2042. I'm not just talking about their racial diversity or national backgrounds, but diversity can include different SES, socioeconomic background like poverty and disability or religion or many other factors or interaction between those diversity factors. So people now think that the intervention should be each family focused because each individual and family are different. So family centered approach will be the easiest approach so teacher can provide interventions based on understanding of each family's needs, individual's needs. The family center is not just for people who have culturally diverse backgrounds, but it is for everyone in the United States because each family in the United States has different needs, family history, or their own culture, family culture, right? Okay, so family center intervention was developed, is affected by family system theory, and family system theory is basically from ecological system theory, very famous. The ecological system theory was developed by Bronfenbrenner. As you see in the picture, he's Russian. According to him, each individual has culture, and those culture is shaped by contextual, cultural, and psychological factors, and interactions between those factors and relationship between those factors. So all of these kind of things affect and shape each individual's culture. So by understanding each child's contextual psychological factors, we can provide appropriate interventions or services based on understanding of each family, the cultural context. So we can provide more relevant, culturally relevant intervention and services. Okay, ecological system theory is used as person-centered planning methods to identify instructional priorities based on a student's current and future environment and the student's and family's preference. Therefore, this approach focuses on the student's environment in conducting planning. Okay, here's the overview of ecological system theory. There are 5 systems of influence. The first one is microsystem. The microsystem is a child's immediate environments and variable that the child is directly and always exposed to. For example, family, school, religious institution, neighbors, and peers. As in this figure, you can see this individual young child's microsystem, that is immediate family, child care center or school, and neighborhood play area. And the mesosystem is simply the interconnections between the microsystems, like interactions between the family and teachers, and relationship between the child's peers, the friends, and the family that will affect the child's culture, right? EXO is social settings or institution of society that indirectly affects a child's development. For example, parents' workplace, extended family, social worker, but these ecosystem effects still affect the child's development indirectly. And it impacts a child's development by influencing structures in the microsystem. And the next one is macrosystem. It includes values, laws, customs, and resources that affects activity at all other levels. For example, if your student has a disability, then the law IDA will affect students' life and development. And like insurance, like parents' employment benefits and insurance will affect students' quality of life. And if student has some racial background, for example, my case, Korean culture will affect my life, right? So that's macro. And the as you see in this figure, the chrono is passage of time. So as time goes by, the culture is developing, changing, and also the culture is modified. Okay, so by doing this kind of analysis, you can get some sense of what kind of variables and factors affect the child's life and development, and you can do comprehensive assessment for your child's. And now imagine that you're filling out the ecological system for your target students, one like this for your own students. And here's my question: 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. I also send you these questions in a doc file, right? Please answer to those first four questions and please save it now. Okay, so like I said before, by doing this analysis, you can plan person-centered and family-centered intervention, which means you can have individualized interventions or modifications as needed to meet each child's and family's needs and needs based on your analysis, and that will possibly facilitate families' involvement too. Nowadays, the definition of effective early childhood program sounds like this. Effective early childhood programs are to understand fully the needs of families in their roles as parents and to use tools and strategy that will enhance collaboration and parenting practices unique to the needs of parents' children, and that will work within the context of family's rhythm, ritual, and routines. So sounds like the person-centered, family-centered, and ecological system understanding is very critical to make effective early childhood program, right? Okay, everyone has culture, and the culture is the ways in which one perceives, believes, evaluates, and behaves. And culture is one's life map or blueprint by which decisions are made and the actions of others are evaluated. That's individual culture, and also nations has culture. Like United States, the macro culture is, which is the overarching culture, is defined as individualism or assertiveness. You may not agree, but that's that's the microculture, macro culture, the big overarching culture of the United States. That is being said. However, there are so many microcultures under macroculture, like by race, gender, religion, age, geography, income, and language background. There are almost infinite number of macroculture under one nation. So people in the United States, they're diverse. So they understand those overarching culture differently or use the macro culture differently based on their understanding, based on their cultural background. In order to increase cross-cultural competency as a teacher, you need to increase the cultural awareness. Culture is always changing and adaptable, is modifiable. And for several reasons and or different cultural traits, each parents or each child has different styles of communications. We should not have a bias based on their different styles of communication, and we have to understand that there are so many differences between you and the family, because you have your own culture and viewpoints, and family also have their own culture and family history. So please do not value of culture, do not judge the value of culture. Just aware that everyone is different and you should respect the difference. Now, observational assessment. Um, we will talk about the definition of observation, and we'll talk about some examples of observational assessment, and we will also talk about rubrics, checklists, and rating scales, such things. Observation is the most commonly used methods of informal assessment, and observation can be used in various ways, like screening students, making educational decisions, collecting baseline data before intervention, and evaluating the effectiveness of an intervention program. And teacher can collect information through observations in various settings, like structures and unstructured context in a school. Okay, single observation is not very helpful. You will do multiple repeated observations to get more reliable data. And we're doing focused observation using ecological inventory. Your ecological inventory includes different routines and observational goals and objectives. Observations can provide students strength and weakness in learning areas and developmental domains. And observation can eventually provide information about your students to develop behavior intervention plan. We will talk about and we will develop this intervention plan for your students next semester. And there are several different types of recording, and this recording types can be used. And when you do observation, for example, you can include ABC procedure and using different recording system. Okay, so what is ABC procedures? Like observations in classroom often used to see how environmental factors affect the target behavior. For example, when you see your students challenging behaviors, you define the target behavior, the challenging behavior, and select the focused observation setting. Also, you will determine the time of day for observation. Then you will see what happened right before and after the behavior and find out the factors that affects the challenging behaviors reoccurring. So A means antecedent, what happened before the challenging behavior. B is behavior, you will observe the behavior. And C is consequence, you will see what happened after the behavior. So you can figure out why the behavior occurs by doing observations. There are several recording techniques. The first one is anecdotal recording. Anecdotal recording is a written account of an observation of a child after the event has taken place. Just simply describe what happened. Running recording is very common form. This is a written narrative documented during an observation of a child. Event recording is very simple. You will just record the frequency of behavior using telemarks. So 5 times happen in 1 hour, something like that. Duration recording focuses on the length of time some behavior lasts. So if your target behavior is tantrum, then you will record how long each tantrum lasts. Like the first tantrum lasts for 3 minutes, the second tantrum will last for 2 minutes, something like that. That's duration. Latency recording, you will record how long it will take for an individual to initiate some target behavior. For example, if your students is always out of task and teacher just say grab the pencil, and you will just record how long it takes for him to grab the pencil from the moment you say grab the pencil, and you will see how long does it take and to be on the task. To become more accurate observers, you have to define the target behavior, how the behavior looks like, and you have to identify at least 3 observation settings. So you will do observation across setting because we want to be more accurate, right, and reliable. And also, teacher, you have to determine the time of day and the length of time the observation will occur before observations. During the observation, your student will not be asked to do anything specific. You will just do natural observations, and like I said before, you will do observation across multiple settings like structured setting and unstructured setting. So structured setting includes like classroom activity involving large group discussion, greeting times or closing times. Unstructured context includes snack, lunch, and recess, like free times. And if you are assessing very young children, your focus on observation often centered on play, because during play, young children, they exhibit their developmental level and capacity. So like social skill, language skill, sensory, fine and gross motor skill, adaptive behavior, and self-regulatory and other important skills. So play settings is very important, valuable setting for your observation. Here's my question number 2. Give some examples of when you would use event recording, and give me type of behavior setting, such things, and explain how you collect data. The specific examples are in your text, so you can use your text to answer this question. Okay, there are several formats you can use for your observations. The first one is rubrics. Rubrics include categories, scores, and descriptions that are used as a guide to evaluate the project or products. A rubric should involve a strong knowledge of the skills a teacher is expecting a student to master. This information helps students understand, participate, and improve on learning outcomes. Like our comprehensive case study rubric, it helps you to understand what is expected in this class, right? There are 2 different types of rubrics. The first one is analytic rubric. this is very detailed rubric. So each aspect of task gets an individual rating. Like our case study rubric, I include several different tasks and items, and I'll give you score for each item, right? Holistic rubric, sometimes a whole project is evaluated, so like overall evaluation of a product is given. So criteria are not assessed separately. So this is very simple rubric. Similarly, there are checklists and rating scales. Checklists consist of criteria or descriptions where the observer indicates accuracy by checking yes or no response to indicate the presence or absence of a characteristic or behavior. Rating scale is very similar, but it includes agreements to descriptions by choosing 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4, 0 to 5, or strongly agree to strongly disagree. But checklists and rating scales allow the teacher to compare students' behavior with desired behavior, facilitate progress on IEP goals, and focus families and teachers on students' goals. Checklists and rating scale, they're very simple and similar, and they allow teachers to see students' progress by having ongoing assessment because it's informal and simple, and they allow family to get involved in the process. These two tools could be used as screening instruments as informal process, and it's very easy to understand, right? And sometimes these tools can be used to assess the effectiveness of interventions too. Your own intervention you designed for your student. Here's the most commonly used checklist and rating scales by different disability and areas. Some are just checklists and rating scales, but sometimes checklists and rating scales are embedded into standardized tests. So, for example, under autism, there is CARS, right? The CARS Childhood Autism Rating Scale that use rating scale system, but that's standardized test. So your child's score will be compared to the normal group. And I have some of these tools, so I will introduce you some of these checklists or rating scales. For example, I have CARS, and then under atypical behavior, I have violent, and under environmental assessment, I have ECERSR, the environmental tool for early childhood, and I also have infant and toddler environmental rating scales. So I will bring those things from tomorrow, so we'll have some practice time. Here's my last questions. Please describe 2 challenges that can arise with checklists and rating scale for environmental assessment. The detailed information is in your text, so you will be able to find that information by reading the text. Please upload your answer to the 3 questions and tasks to Blackboard. You have to save your answer in one document file and upload. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. I'll see you next week. Bye.